Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk about a very interesting piece of information that was posted recently to the Reddit, which was spurred by the recent Netmarble announcement of their 2019 Q1 through Q4 earnings. So we're going to be talking a lot of math today. We're going to be talking a lot about purchasing and in-app stuff and mobile gaming monetization and marketing and yada yada yada. And I know this might not seem interesting from a player perspective if you're just trying to get ahead in Marvel Future Fight, playing the game, enjoying the game for whatever reason, or if you're free to play so you don't make any purchase anyways. But I really do think it is interesting, not only to see how the game is doing, how the game is progressing, because for better and for worse, mobile games, like pretty much any other business out there, will not succeed if they are failing. That's you can't succeed if you're failing, but what I mean is they won't stay around. They won't survive if they are failing, or if they are producing or sort of succeeding at a very low level for an extended period of time. Now, I don't mean to give you any of these warnings or say any of this stuff to give you panic or cause to think that Marvel Future Fight is shutting down or anything like that. It's not. I think the game is in a perfectly fine position, not only for where it is in relation to other games that we're going to be talking about today, but also in relation to where it started out and how much it's grown, especially for a 5-year-old game. I really have to emphasize that because it's true. A lot of mobile games do not make it to the 3rd year, to the 4th year, to the 5th year. Marvel Future Fight is going to see a few more years minimum. We're going to be celebrating the 6th year anniversary. We're going to be celebrating the 7th anniversary, the 8th anniversary. So I'm not worried by any means about that, but it's very interesting to see. And it's also good to talk about and speculate on, what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong as far as monetization goes, because it is one part of the game and it does affect the game as a whole. A game with good monetization not only makes the players feel happier about playing, but it makes people more inclined to support. A game with really bad, really aggressive, very predatory monetization with lots of gambling and lots of sort of gamblers' fallacies and sort of, psychological manipulation, those are much, much worse. Let's take a look at the data. First of all, big shout out to Jay Mackey for putting this data into a graph that I can actually read as a layman, because I'm just a casual math addict. I'm not like a heavy math addict. All of this information Jay Mackey and other people pulled from the library, so this isn't like hidden information. Netmarble is either fully public or partially publicly traded company, so they make their earnings reports for different years publicly available as a PDF. So you can see here they even have a conference call that you can stream and watch, which is pretty interesting. I assume it's in Korean, but it's still cool, and they go back as far as 3 years. So that is what was included in the data from 2017 Q2 up to 2019 Q4, which would be the last 3 months of the year, October, November, December, which was the Uncanny Avengers update, the Mercs for Hire or Mercs for Money update, and then the Deadpool holiday and Gwenpool holiday uniform sort of mini update. There's no data beyond that, so that's why it doesn't go back further than 2017. In this case, for this particular piece of data, we're going to supersize it here. Marvel Contest of Champions is included. Now, you might be wondering why. Last year or the year before that, not that long ago, Netmarble acquired Kabam. So they basically just bought the entire development company for Contest of Champions. Kabam makes other games as well. They're a game developer. They're a game publisher. And so Netmarble bought them, and so they technically own Marvel Contest of Champions. And Marvel Contest of Champions is one of the games that is prominently featured on Netmarble's quarterly earnings. We see a spike here in 2018, again, like I said, for Infinity War. We see another spike, although not as big, in 2019 for Endgame. And then from there, you do start to see a decline for Marvel Future Fight. And I think this is where a lot of players focus, and this is where a lot of people see that, oh no, things are going bad. Like, we dipped below 5% because otherwise it's pretty flat and it's pretty stable. Otherwise, it's going up, which is good. But this is pretty much to be expected for most Marvel games, simply because there's no MCU content. And unlike Contest of Champions, or unlike a couple of other games, I think Marvel Future Fight, and I think this was reflected and iterated in the Reddit post, and people have this opinion online as well. Marvel Future Fight leans more heavily on MCU tie-ins and MCU updates. I think the beauty of the game, the graphics, the artistry, that really lends itself well to being like interpretations and sort of, a playable version of the movie. You can play certain scenes from the movies. I think that's what attracted a lot of players. So not having a movie since, Spider-Man, right? For the past 8 months, we haven't had a Marvel movie. That is really probably going to be a big reason why the earnings have started to dip. As well, Marvel Future Fight never has a full update planned for December. And so that's why they probably historically always dip in December. Whereas Contest of Champions celebrates their 5-year or their yearly anniversary. Last year, at the end of last year, it was their 5-year anniversary. Contest of Champions celebrates their anniversaries at the end of the year, and so they have an update for that. They have a bunch of events for that, and that's why you see that spike. The spike for Marvel Future Fight is kind of hidden because the anniversary has coincided the last 2 years with Infinity War and with Endgame. So theoretically, if the anniversary for Marvel Future Fight was somewhere else in the year, somewhere else in these quarterlies, then you would see a spike there for the anniversary, because anniversaries usually bring in more players. They usually give stuff out to players. They usually put in special purchases that you can only make at that time of the year, like an anniversary pack or something like that. And so players are more encouraged and they feel more sympathetic to make purchases in general, and that's why for Contest of Champions you see that big spike. There's other things that the game might be doing well to generate revenue, but I think that is a big part of it that some players don't recognize and don't realize. Contest of Champions also had a bit of a drama lately, if you guys follow that game. Basically, they have a gifting event for Christmas, so they cash in on Christmas, they cash in on their anniversary, and they cash in on this gifting event. Basically, you can purchase crystals, which are the one way of getting characters, and you can gift them to other players, and they can open up the crystals, and they could possibly get a character. They get some gold, they get some ISO, and so you can basically gift rewards and gift resources to other players. And then when you gift to players, you get points, and then at the end, the alliance with the most gifting points will win some set prizes. And that in the last year, 2019, in Contest of Champions, they gave away some insane prizes for the #1 ranked alliance, and only the #1 ranked alliance. Number 2 did not get as good rewards, so there was a strict gap on winning that reward or not. And of course, that makes all the whales go crazy because they have to be #1. There was drama involved. I don't want to say we know for certainty what happened, but I'm pretty sure there was illegal means of acquiring more money, whether it's through like stolen credit cards or whether it's through botting and stuff like that. There were certain things done that are, outside of probably the terms of service, outside of like an ethical, fair thing. And so lots of people, Seaton, lots of other players, Crystal Opening Whale, made videos about this. And that's probably also contributing to the big spike, because presumably if that alliance didn't, use those alternative means to get their score up, this number wouldn't have been so high, because there wouldn't have been as much competition for the rank 1 and rank 2 alliances. If you're curious and you're interested in what I'm saying right now, I strongly urge you go and watch their videos. It's super interesting to me to hear stuff like this from the perspective of a non-playing player. I'm also not a non-paying player as well, but the amount of money being thrown around is insane. We're talking like tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I do feel for the players that got ripped off. I do feel for the players that feel that they were robbed and that they were cheated out of the rank 1. But again, all of that, on top of everything else I said, is a big reason for this spike. So I did want to explain that. I do want to take the time to do that, because it's important to recognize that this spike and this spike are, they're not related. This spike is going up for a specific number of reasons. This went down for completely different reasons. It's not like this game is sucking players out of this game being Marvel Future Fight. And it's not like Marvel Future Fight is failing to do something while MCOC is doing things right. You could say they're doing things right from the perspective of monetizing the game and milking the whales and stuff like that. But when you introduce other information, when you introduce more information, it starts to become more clear that Marvel Future Fight isn't actually doing that many things wrong. I'm not saying they're doing everything right, but they're not doing everything wrong. So we're going to take a look at another graph here. Again, big shout out to Jay Mackey. I believe he was the one who also posted this second link down here. Let me scroll and find it so that I can properly give thanks. Yeah, it was Jay Mackey. So he posted Lineage 2's graph as well. And this becomes shocking. Lineage 2 starts off with an insane initial investment from players, topping over 40, pretty much close to 45%, almost half of Netmarble's total revenue in the middle of 2017, when we were getting that X-Men update, just after the X-Men update, was from Lineage 2. So they were eclipsing everyone. They were #1 on the App Store and the Play Store. It was just bonkers. And look at this. In less than 2 years, basically 2019 Q1, so less than 2 years later, they plummet to 15%. So that's like a third of where they were at. So they dropped 66% of their revenue in less than 2 years. Does that mean that all the players just suddenly quit because the game was boring? I don't know. Probably not. Was it, a combination of different things, but most likely probably really aggressive monetization? Yeah, probably. So it goes to show you that even if you aggressively monetize your games, you might have an initial investment that's really, really good. And you can probably think of mobile games that are released and they only last for a couple of years. It's like a flash in the pan. And you're wondering why they keep popping up. Well, if they can make money like this, even just in 1 or 2 years, they can turn a profit super quickly. And, as long as you're turning a profit, you can keep investing and keep making more games. It's almost like flipping a house, right? You invest $1 million, you sell the house for $1.5 million. You invest that $1.5 million, you get another house, and so on and so forth. It's a dirty job. It's rough, and it's obviously something that you don't want to see as far as, aggressively monetizing the game in a negative way and pitting players against each other and pitting whales against each other. And I've spoken to people who play Lineage 2 and have spent a lot of money on Lineage 2. We're talking thousands of dollars. And I basically had the same reaction from all of them, or I got the same reaction from them, that the game was just way too expensive to keep up in. And all they did was push more and more tactics for players to spend money and just go deeper and deeper down that rabbit hole. So it obviously does not equal success. A lot of people call Contest of Champions a greedy game. They say that the monetization is very predatory. But on the one hand, you can see you could actually call it a steady rise in the amount of money that they're making year over year. Another game that may be equally as predatory or more predatory, Lineage 2, sees a dramatic drop-off. Now, you can argue that part of that is the IP as well. Marvel IP has been steadily improving and increasing. You got all the movies, all the merchandising, the TV shows, the promotions from celebrities. You have like the Michael B. Jordan event in MCOC. A lot of that has to do with it, of course. The brand IP does support the game in a big way, but it's also the gameplay itself. So you do have to recognize that. And I think that's also why Marvel Future Fight has remained constant and on the upswing in general. It is on an uptrend besides this last quarter, because the gameplay, the core mechanics are very, very good for Marvel Future Fight. So what's wrong with Marvel Future Fight then? So like, what is the big issue then? Well, obviously, in part, it's monetization. So what I wanted to do now is I want to take a couple minutes here and talk about the different types of players in Marvel Future Fight as far as spending goes, because I think it's interesting to look at, and it's also interesting to see where the marketing team for Marvel Future Fight is really focusing their efforts, because they probably have as much information as I'm going to point out and much, much more, but I'll just try to summarize it quickly. So as far as spending players go, we know that there's always a portion of players who don't spend money in a mobile game. That's why they are free to play, but of course they're pay to whatever, pay to win, pay to get ahead, pay to unlock everything. There's some form of payment to get extra things that the free people don't get. It's that simple. So I think the first group of players that you have in Marvel Future Fight, probably not very often targeted or talked about, they are the monthly subscribers. They don't purchase, they don't gamble, they don't do anything fancy. They just sort of chug along, akin to someone that plays World of Warcraft. They're fine with spending $5 or $10 or $15 a month, just small investments, consistently, and they get what they want and they feel satisfied with their investment, whether it's just a Stark Stash or whether it's just a biometric sub or a daily sub, whatever. Recently, they've updated the prices for the Bio Sub and the Stark Stash, and they actually increased it in pretty much every country to match the iOS prices. That pissed off a lot of players, obviously. So Netmarble did sort of make an error in pissing off that group of players. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them stopped buying the Stark Stashes, stopped buying the Bio Subs because of that, and that's just the way it is. That's just how it has to be. I'm not defending their decision. I'm not saying that their decision was awful. But it is going to have ramifications. Whether the decision was necessary or not is up in the air. The second group of players I think exist in the game are players that don't necessarily spend monthly, but they will spend for a very, very good deal. So when you have a really good deal that you just can't pass up in the shop, we don't have one here right now, but we had one not that long ago with the sort of like mega ticket sale, where it wasn't this one, it was similar, but it was 2,000 crystals, I think. It was a mega rank up ticket, a tier 2 ticket, and a mega mythic uniform ticket, and it was like $40 or $50 US. A lot of players wanted to buy that because the value was just like so overwhelmingly good to them. They're like, man, I don't want to miss this particular sale. A lot of players as well do that for Black Friday. They save up and they only spend on Black Friday. They are sort of like the bargain hunter type spenders. The third group are spenders who spend for a specific character, whether they're in the game now or not. So you'll hear people saying like, man, if, let's just scroll through and see. If Odin ever gets a rework, I am going to splash for Odin. You have players like that. They're not going to spend regularly. They're not going to splash like crazy for deals. But if a specific character joins the game, like Spider-Woman or whatever, or if a specific character in the game gets a huge buff, they will drop X amount of dollars to build up that character, to master that character, to fully build up and gear up and complete that character. The fourth group of players that you have in Marvel Future Fight, probably making up the majority of the biggest spenders and whales, are players who are competitive in Alliance Battle, Alliance Conquest, and Alliance Tournament. The ABX, the AT, and the AC alliances. These players will semi-regularly to regularly could be as often as every week, they will gamble for premium cards because they need tons of attack or they need tons of HP or both. They will regularly gamble for CTPs, Rage, Greed, Regen, Insight. They will regularly gamble for, now more recently, Odin's Blessings to, round out their characters. And they will also have to either save the resources or buy extra resources to make sure that they always have enough to tier 3 the next character. Because who knows, right? If you're following the meta for Alliance Battle Extreme or Alliance Conquest, which is PvP, and some new tier 3 comes out and they are the top for a specific thing, you got to have that if you want to stay competitive. So that player versus player competition, which is pretty prominent in most mobile games as a way of generating revenue for the company by making players spend against each other, that's pretty obvious with Alliance Battle Extreme, Alliance Conquest, and Alliance Tournament players. And then I think the last group of players that are targeted are the rank 1 prestige whales. These are the players who they just want rank 1 for a specific character or a specific group of characters. And if you go through the lists here, you will often discover that there is a wide variety of names. Like, you will see a lot of different names in the top 3, but you will also see some repeat names. And the reason for that is they get one and they feel good and they hold the rank 1 for one character, and then a couple of weeks pass or a month pass and they get bored and they want another rank 1 and they want another rank 1 because that competition, that itch to be the best, doesn't go away. They don't necessarily want to compete by playing specific content, going for specific scores, but they want to have the best and strongest version of a character, at least by the strange growth score settings that Netmarble has set out. The last group of players, I know I didn't say this was the last group, but it is actually the last group, is the collectors. This is the gotta catch 'em all type players. They don't necessarily spend in large amounts, but they'll buy the bio sub, they'll buy the X-Gene sub to make sure that they can maintain the maximum number of available characters. They don't want to go through their roster and see the grayed out icon. Now, here's the problem with Marvel Future Fight. Most of the player types that I've just named that spend, those players are adequately compensated in some way for their investment, and they also don't have to invest a lot to get what they want. Monthly subscribers are not investing that much in the grand scheme of things. They're investing $5, $10, $15 a month. They can stop at any time, and they're really just chugging along at their own pace, so there's not a lot of outside pressure to spend more or to change their habits. The collector type characters, let's be honest, Marvel Future Fight is not a very expensive game if you just want to collect all the characters. If you don't worry about CTPs, if you don't worry about your cards, if you don't worry about your builds, if you're not trying to have quality characters, you can collect them all for not that much money over a long period of time because of bio subs, X-Gene subs, events where you can get Mega Tier 2 tickets and Mega Rank Up tickets. So it's not really that expensive of a game to just collect versus a game like, MCOC. If you want to collect all the characters, oh buddy, you're going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you still don't guarantee that you're going to get super rare characters like Kang, like Thanos, etc. A game like Marvel Strike Force, if you want to get every single character unlocked, you are going to pay out the ass. There's just no way. It's $50 minimum for a new character that comes out at 2 stars. So there's just no way you're not going to pay. It's not as much as MCOC, but there's a dollar amount attached to every single character. They don't release free characters the way that Marvel Future Fight does. Splashing for a specific character, those kind of spenders, They can spend a lot of money, but it is dependent. It's, you know, it's based on the idea that a character is coming or a character is getting a rework. So those players, you can't really account for them too much because there's so much variance, and even then, there's only so much money you can pump into one character. I really don't think you could spend more than, like, I want to say $500, maybe $1,000 on one character before you would absolutely max them out. You know, unless you got horribly lucky with RNG and gambling, I really don't think it would take that much. And they've even introduced things like, you know, buying the Odin Blessing selectors, which reduces the amount of RNG and gambling you have to do if you're just looking to max out one specific character. So all of these groups of players, the collectors, the can't miss a deal, the splashing characters, the splashing players for a specific character, and the monthly subscribers, they're all pretty well taken care of. They're not being too aggressively pressured into spending. They're not being like predatory monetized. You know, it's not like you're being hunted by Netmarble to spend money. But I think the players who are being hunted by Netmarble to spend money are the ones in the middle that I mentioned, number 4, number 5. The ABX, AT, AC Alliance players, and the Rank 1 Prestige Whale players. The Rank 1 players, I've just heard a lot of it from people that I know and that I talk to that play Marvel Future Fight. They can't hold on to a top spot of a character for more than a few days because someone just comes up behind them and tries to take it over. Not to mention the fact that, you know, every month they're running at least 5 or 6 different events, or events for 5 or 6 different characters that push you out of rank 1. So they are constantly shining a spotlight on different characters, trying to dethrone the champ for number 1 and to create a turnover so that players feel pressured. You know, if you were number 1 for 6 months and then you drop, how are you going to feel? You're going to be like, I want my spot back. So you pull out your wallet, you pull out your credit card, and you start spending. And those players are not being rewarded very much for that, because you could not only spend a lot of money initially building that character up to rank 1, but then when eventually they get a rework or they get a spotlight, and then you have to build them up again for these rewards, you're only getting these rewards once. Sure, if you're rank 1 Crossbones, you got 2,500 crystals. You probably spent 25,000 crystals or more getting that rank 1 Crossbones in the first place. So that's brutal. And then finally, we have the group that I, mentioned twice already, but this is just the worst of them all. Alliance Battle Extreme, Alliance Conquest, and Alliance Tournament. Marvel Future Fight, just the devs just don't care. They will just milk these players as hard as they can, as often as they can, and give them nothing in return. The Alliance Conquest rewards, we're going to go through them right now. We got first place. I actually purposely played Alliance Conquest to get these rewards. I got the rare rewards, by the way, guys. So we got our 4 million gold, thanks in large part to my alliance. No thanks to me. Let me collect my 4 million gold. 4 million gold. When you're asking 40 players to build up multiple tier 3s and multiple tier 2s, like, I don't even want to get into the numbers, but like one high level account for Alliance Conquest, if you're talking about the rank 1 Alliance Conquest team, one high level account could have spent $5,000 in Marvel Future Fight. One account. Multiply that by 40. So you're saying that on average, let's just say 5,000. You're saying, okay, let's just divide that by 2. Let's say it's 2,500. Let's just say the rank 1 Alliance Conquest average player has spent $2,500 in Marvel Future Fight. Multiply that by 40. You're saying that an alliance that has cumulatively spent $100,000 in Marvel Future Fight gets 4 million gold for winning, and they get a chest that has 50 Nordstones. It's an absolute joke. And I think this is part of the reason why the revenue is dropping, because the players who spend the most money are being rewarded the least. Now, it's always a tricky situation. It's always a fine balance. You don't want to over-reward spending because the game becomes pay to win. We all know the story. Marvel Future Fight devs have done an excellent job, and we applaud them. They've done an excellent job of balancing those stakes, and they've made free-to-play players feel like they can progress and they can compete on some level with spending players. Of course, they can't compete in everything. They can't compete at the highest level, but that's impossible in any game of that nature, of any mobile game. They've made it very comfortable for mid, low, and no spending players. But once you get past mid spending, it just becomes an absolute joke. The return on investment, the ROI for Marvel Future Fight is completely trash. To go back to the original graph here, your return on investment in Marvel Future Fight is very similar to the revenue trajectory for Lineage. You spend a little bit of money in Marvel Future Fight, you get an awesome reward. VIP 1, VIP 2, VIP 3, VIP 4. Oh man, I'm having the time of my life. VIP 5, VIP 6, VIP 7, VIP 8. Oh crap, this sucks. VIP 20, and it just keeps going down. You're like, wait, what? I spent how much money on this game? So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know. I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted to have that conversation with you guys. I think it's really interesting to see where things are going. I hope that Marvel Future Fight's revenue will obviously swing upwards again for the 5-year anniversary, for Black Widow, for Eternals coming out. And I do think that the devs need to do more work, not only on monetizing the game in a way that's fair, but also that works for them as a company, but they also need to work on the other side of monetization. There's two sides to monetization. There's the reward side, because in order to get players to spend, you have to give them something to spend on, right? You have to give them a house to buy. Right now, Marvel Future Fight is asking the players to buy a shack, a rundown shack with no toilet and no refrigerator, a broken house, smashed windows. They're asking them to buy that house for $1 million. And we're looking at other mobile games, and other mobile games are like, hey, you want to buy this mansion for $1 million? And the player's like, okay, yeah, I can live in a mansion for $1 million. That seems fair. I mean, fair in the sense of you're still spending thousands of dollars on digital currency and things that aren't real, but still, it's better to buy a digital mansion for $1 million than to buy a shack. So yeah, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Thanks for being here. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much. Take care.